Yeah, exactly there. Mamish in the middle of the page. The last three words in the line. Ve'ein ze echte ve'oshu. And said a person must trust. Yeah. He said a person must trust that the Eibishter forgives and have the simcha. Have simcha from this. Okay? The Alter Rebbe says, "Vein ze echte v'oshu." It's not like that this is going to be echte v'oshu. The person is so happy if the Eibishter forgives him, you say, "Oh,
right."
Yeah. He says, "No, it's not like echte v'oshu." What's the problem of echte v'oshu? היינו דווקא שבשעת החטא יוכל שיצרה לשנסמך בליבה לתשובה. לכן הועיל והתשובה גרמס לא ילכת, הם מספיק עם יודו לעשות תשובה. There's in the Rambam, in Hilchos Tshuva, and the Tzefnes Panech, the Rabbi Tshuva says that there's a mandama that a person that doesn't believe, that a person that relies on Yom Kippur, and Yom Kippur is not mechaper. So the Pashup Pshat is, listen, the Eibishter gave you a day for kapora. The Eibishter give tshuva as a tool, but if you're playing games, the Eibishter doesn't give it to you. But the Rogatchev, yeah, but he said this guy's playing games. It's not for him. The Rogatchev says it with a lomdus. He says we have a klal in Shas in kateger nasa saneger. You can't do both jobs. You're a kateger or you're a saneger. You can't be both. You're the prosecutor. You're the defender. You can't play both roles. If a person was choyte because he's relying on Yom Kippur, Hastus, who caused him to be a choyte? Yom Kippur. A person is sin because he's relying on tshuva. So what made him cause the chait? In other words, he would have held himself back from doing the chait, but because he relied on tshuva,
later on.
So then now, why did he sin? Because of Yom Kippur. Why did he sin? Because he's relying on tshuva. So how could the kateger, which caused him to do the sin, become a saneger? So therefore, that's the pshat. There's a lomdish pshat. Because now it's a kateger, becomes a saneger. A regular person, he'd sin because the Yitzhahara told him to sin. Because kisavahu la'inayim. That's why he sinned. Now he wants to do tshuva. It doesn't do tshuva. It's Yom Kippur. It's Yom Kippur.
Tshuva becomes the kateger, in other words.
Yeah.
You're using it as a vehicle.
Yeah. So that's the lomdus. It's a shame of lomdus.
He says this lomdus.
The Rogatchev in the Rambam. It was tshuva. Very nice. So he says, however, says the Alter Rebbe, when a yid is besimcha that Eibishter gives him, that's not the pshat. It's not like lechatchila. When do we say Emas Pikim Yod Elash's tshuva? Because the tshuva geremes lelachte. How much like the Rogatchev says that the tshuva caused him to chait. But this guy is not true. It's not that way. Another thing says the Alter Rebbe. Avgam Zois. The truth is, even a yid which relied on the tshuva and therefore he sinned. It's Emas Pikim Yod Elash's tshuva. Avlam dochek v'nis chazak v'nis gaber al yitzer v'asa tshuva. Metablan tshuva. Ema speaking b'yoda means they don't help him to do tshuva. But dochek v'nichnas, if he pushes his way in and he does tshuva, the Eibush accepts. It's in mind they don't help him do tshuva. Ma speaking b'yoda means they don't help him do tshuva. The Rebbe is mitzayin to the story in Chagiga of Elisha ben Avuya. That the Gemara, there's a long story in the Gemara. The Gemara says that he went up to heaven and he saw Amaisa with the Malach Matat. He's sitting and he's writing Schusim for Yidden. And he said, "Oh, I thought Ein Lamaila lo Oidev, lo Ipui, lo Yeshiva." So right away he started having shilas. So the first thing is they took Malach Matat, Aku, and they gave him Shisim Pulta de Nahura. Pulta de Nahura, but they whipped him 60 times. So people that are going into the paradise could see that this guy is nothing. We get him schmitz. What are you thinking? Chas v'sholom, avodah zarah, shnei is, you see this guy in like the Tisch, man nimmt him up the Hazen, and we get him Schmitz, shit in Puls in the Nahura. Okay. And then, because of Acher, he suffered, the Malach Matat, they told him he couldn't, although he always writes his Chus on the Yid, Acher, he could erase his Chusim. And Nochmal, they said that the Abasko came out, Shuva Bonim Shavovim Chutz Me'acher. The Gemara tells over the story 3-4 times. The Gemara says he went out. And he said, anyway, I'm not going to have any Elam Haba. Let me at least have Elam Haza. So he found the Zoyna. The Zoyna said, "You're a tzaddik. You're Lisha ben Avuya. How could you do such a sin?" So it was in Shabbos, and he ripped a fruit off the tree. And when she saw that, she said, "No, you can't be Elisha ben Avuya. This is Acher. This is someone else." From then on, Chachamim called him.
Oh, because of
her. That's why they called him Acher. Acher, because she said, the Zoyna said, "You can't be Elisha, the Rabban Shal Yisrael. Acher, you're someone else." You know what it says several stories.
He was really Rabban Shal Yisrael. He was Rabban Shal Yisrael?
Yeah. And then
how we can turn like this?
You know what it says several stories. One story was he had the mayor was his Talmud. He said to the mayor, "What's the pshat?" It says in the pasuk that Torah is compared to gold and to glass. So what's the pshat? So the mayor told him a pshat. He said, "No, that's not the pshat." Akiva said, the mayor says the pshat is just like glass, it breaks easy. Talmud Chacham could break easy, like he was telling him,
During the hymn.
Yeah, he said no. The Akiva said that just like glass, you could put it again in the fire and fix it. The same thing at Talmud Chacham, you could fix it. So he said, "No, Chazar Bach." He said, "No, because I heard the Basko." And then the same story was again. They were walking and Shabbos and on a house. Chazar Bach, it's a Chazar. So we see. So at the end, he went to a base. He forced him to go to a base medrash, and 13 children, each kid, they asked, say a posuk. And everyone ended up saying a pasuk, which was like parable. L'rosh Malakim Malach Olasapa Chukoi, this, that, and he got all turned off. However, so fragt sich the Shaila, so what's the taina against Acher? What taina do you have against him? Because anyway told, right? So the Mashal says the Take. When they said chutz me'acher, it didn't mean that he can't do tshuva. It means they're not going to help him do tshuva. But if he forced his way in, he could do tshuva. And then the Tosfos Taka says that there is a shita that he did tshuva. It's a shayla ges and a gemara that because before he died, the mayor had with him again a conversation, and they said Tor Shavena Shadako. And he started to cry. Elisha started to cry, and he did do tshuva. So either he did tshuva, or even he didn't do tshuva. He had tainus. Why? There was a baskel that said tshuvu bonim shavavim chutz me'acher. The answer is that they're not going to help him. But if his dochek v'nichnas, dochek v'nis chazak, he go in. So madach. Such a person, which the Tosfos says another Gerson Gemara is that he heard a baskel on Yom Kippur coming out from the Kodesh HaKadoshim that Shuva Bonim Shevavim Chutz Me'acher Shira Bechvoidi because he mamish and Heimerbi. So the Eibusha was very upset with him. So mad of him that we say that it's not the pshat that he can't do tshuva. They're not going to help him do tshuva. Kolchke Nayid, which Chazal say he must speak him beyond the last tshuva, they're not going to help him do tshuva. He must speak him, but he can do tshuva.
And Yeshua ben Avuya, he's the one who to be married in Tchum Shabbat.
Yeah. That's the story at Tchum Shabbat, right? There's two stories that the Tosfos says about Elisha, which shows the importance of chinuch. One with the mother and one with the father. The mother ate something not kosher
when she was pregnant.
Even though it was mutter for her, but it still had a bad ashpah on the child, which is very important when we talk about kashrus. Last week and Sunday morning we were talking about kashrus, about the
special
right. that this company is using now a red dye from certain bugs, instead of putting the red 4, which is going to become illegal soon, using so whatever it's from a certain telas. So I found there was a tshuva from Rav Osner where he writes to someone up in California. He says Taka, it was a different bug, but it's a telas. It's a similar, almost kamat zalba process of how they.
Different again.
And yeah, but it's a different telas, but it's kamat zalba zach. And he writes at the end, but weißt doch, the Divrei Tosfos, this Vayeduim, and Koran Shulchan Aruch, that they should be very careful with what a Yid eats, because it's matantach tamoy v'aleh. That's a Chassidim are very makbid on the right on these things, even if you can make it. And that's one thing. But the father was the other story. The story with the father was, so the mother story is more like an impactful story. And the father story, you see, the father also has hashpah on the chinuch of the child.
They call him Abu, huh?
Elisha ben Avuya.
Abuya.
I say it the way they told me in yeshiva. Avuya. Mistama, you're right, it's Abuya. If you look in the art scroll, it's maybe Abuya. If you look in Steinsaltz, it's Avada Abuya.
Abuya in Arabic and Aramaic is father.
Right.
More Abba.
Right. So the Gemara, the Tosfos says that the father, that with the bris of the child, the father saw Rebbe Elazar and Yeshua were learning. Because everyone was eating and drinking and dancing, and they were learning. And they were learning with such Islavus that all of a sudden the fire came down from heaven. And that fire was around them. So he said, well, listen, they said, no. We went from Torah to Nevi'im to Ksuvim, Mesamechem, Knesenosim, Ma'asinai. So therefore the fire came down from heaven. So he said, if my son will grow up and he'll be fit to be a Talmid Chacham, I'm going to send him to yeshiva to be a Talmid Chacham. So because his learning, the foundation of his learning was not to become close to Hashem Yisborach, it was because his father saw the fire, the COVID. So that also affected him. It's interesting. You see, the mother and the father, they both have an effect. But fourth, we have a taina because you say that it could be doch v'nichnas. So the truth is, every yid could do tshuva.
Is the one that the mother brought him to Bet Medrash even as a baby?
No. That's a Yeshua Machananya. Right.
Yeah, what?
Right. Kehovas, right. Aval onu mevakshim b'chol yoim. Slach lanu. Onu magdimin levakesh v'achzerenu b'shuva shlem lefanecha. But we say first achzerenu b'shuva shlem lefanecha, and then we say slach lanu. Why were Chazal metaken that should be first? Not only because versteht sich, you have to do tshuva and then get slicha, but also the pshat is the hainu shloi noshav oid lekisla. We're saying that we want to do tshuva, we want slicha.
Tshuva lishma.
Right. Yom Kippur vakshin. Yeah, narishka. Yom Kippur vakshin ratzon b'nach shlechtoid. So for sure, maspikin, faket. Kamar Razal abolo tayr masay noisei. The diuk from Chazal, abol l'tayr Messiah noisa, the pshat, not only the posh pshat, abol l'tayr Messiah noisa means that if a person wants to become tahor from heaven, they help him. But the diuk of the word habol l'tayr means habod daike, miyad shabo. What's the lashon habol l'tayr? Igia l'tayr. It could be many expressions. Habo is like baruch habo. He just walked into the door.
Right away.
As soon as he walks through the door, baruch habo. As soon as he walks through the door. The tire, because he wants to be Torah, he wants to go into the Me'ad Asa Torah, he wants to become pure Messiah from heaven to help him. So Abodai Miyad Shabo, Miyad. If he's going to do Tshuva Miyad, the Slich is going to be Miyad. So that's one point the Alter Rebbe says. Now the Alter Rebbe is going into a very important point, a very, very geschmacka point, very important. And with this, the Alter Rebbe is going to continue Perek Yud Beis, which is the final Perek in Iggeres HaTeshuvahendChapter. Chaim, you want to Tanya? We're 4 lines from the bottom in page 200.
Give you some shot, man. Sure. You could handle. Fleischer. Yeah. You want?
What's the question?
What's the question?
What's the question? The emphasis, it's come out as a question the Alter Rebbe has in the beginning of Tanya. It's a very important question. On the one hand, Siddhis month, as Medav Zayin B'Simcha. That's rule number one in Torah Siddhis, in Torah Baal Shem Tov. The Alter Rebbe in Iggeres HaTeshuva, the whole thing is that we're working our way up to Tshuva Ilah. What's the Nikud of Tshuva Ilah? It's B'Simcha. Why? Tshuva Tatah is far. So therefore, there's a Tzabrachin, there's Merirus, there's Rachmanus, there's all kinds of things that are happening. But Tshuva Ilah, the Alter Rebbe says, you can't say you're being Tshuva Ilah if you're not B'Simcha. Because Oiz V'chet V'bim Koimai. Tshuva Ilah means a Yid is experiencing an incredible amount of Simcha. Why? Because Tshuva Ilah, Tshuva Tatah means I'm going away from the Chatoim. And I go K'mekoidem Achet. I'm not K'mekoidem Achet. The Tshuva Ilah is that I connect in my neshama K'mekoidem Sheyar Del Oilam. So the Simcha is Moiridik. Okay? So Mitzad Echad, the Simcha has to be Moiridik. Mitzad Sheni, the Pasuk says, David HaMelech, Kapitel Nun Aleph and Tehillim, which we say by Tikva Chatzois, we say Klish Meshalamita. It's this Kapitel Nun Aleph is associated to the whole Inyan of Avodas HaTshuva. Whenever we're doing tshuva, we're saying Kapitel Nun Aleph and Tehillim, and over there it says V'chatosi Negdi Samid. So, if Chatosi Negdi Samid, I'm thinking so. No, it's a Chamora Shchoira. Faket. Yeah. So, I mean, it's similar to the kasha in the beginning of Tanya, but it's a little bit of a different kasha. But again, it's always the same thing. We're coming down to Posh Tazak. The 101 in Torah Chassidus Hayid Daf Zayin ständig besimcha. Walk in, macht akula auf den Tisch. Se will sich tanzen. So how could you have se will sich tanzen at the same time? It's chatosi negdi somit. The Alter Rebbe says like this: Eina mechuven li is tomet etzav and nivze chaz v'shalom. It's not the pshat that a person is upset and he's a bezoyim because he realizes the ugly chatoim he did. He realizes the ugliness of the chatoim. So mela he's bozu be'einav. The pasuk right afterwards says Tashmieni sasam v'simcha. How do you expect if a person will be nivze be'einav, otzav be'einav? How is it going to be Tashmieni sasam v'simcha? And then finally it says Vayta v'ruach nedivitis mecheni. How is that? How could these two things go together? That there should be chatosi negdi tamid and the same time should be sasam v'simcha. A ruach of nedivus, generosity. Nedivus haleif. Yeah, good heart. Good heart. So how can you say that on the one hand he has a ruach nediva means is the opposite of fakvetch. Nodiv means he's going out. When a person is bepachad, if a person is dealing with issues, like the person is more mochunas b'tachadzmai. Because Nebuch is dealing with issues. When a person is mispashtus, because besimchus is more mispashtus. So then he's anadvan. And a person's chaz v'sholom b'tzora gedolos, he's not such a beruach nediva. It's more right. So what's going on? So the answer is mishum shetzorich li is kol yom b'tshuva elah shebesimcha rab kenal. The emphasis take that a yid needs to be b'tshuva elah kol yom. Why? Tshuva Tatah is and he has to get rid of a chait. But Tshuva Ilah, every day a Yid should experience Tshuva Ilah. Yechet, nishchet, masnageya. A Yid has to experience Tshuva Ilah. And Tshuva Ilah is besimcha rabek, and it's kalila, we can spread barichus. Hello, what's the pshat in the pasuk? Negdi daikum. Says negdi. Katosi negdi. What's the word negdi? Kamoy atatis yatzev mineged. Mineged savev lo'el moyed yachnu. Pirishrashi meirachik. What's the pshat? Neged doesn't mean, what does it mean? Neged doesn't mean very close. Neged means very far. When a person does Tshuva Ilah and becomes very pure, he realizes that he's different than most people. He realizes that he's different than most people. I mentioned it last time I traveled. The same thing I realize every time, I'm sitting in a plane on Monday, I'm coming back from visiting the Eneklach. It's like Wamish, you feel, will tanzen am as Ayid. Ayid is busy. Medaf endeken drei Prokem Rambam, medaf endeken Chumash, Til and Tanya. Sidor, medaf endeken Adaf Gebonim. The plane is landing going away. I thought I'm going to learn more today. the whole plane going cup to cup and band, they're trying to watch movies because they're bored out of their wits. They're pushing. The Wesen was man kriegt von der Heute. You know, Ayid ist zufrieden, Ayid hat was zu tun, Ayid ist verbunden mit Nebischen. You know, it's a special feeling, right? I'm giving stuff like
example.
so a person that does Chuvi Eloah, a person he's not dumb. He realizes that he has a ruach nediva. He's geworden a naye mensch. He's geworden a naye mensch, and he's walking around with moedik simcha. The downside is that a person chas v'shalom could be rom lavavai. That all of a sudden he feels like the Alter Rebbe says in the first Iggeres that we wrote when he came out from jail that chas v'shalom that the chassidim shouldn't be levilti rom lavava ma'achein. That they shouldn't say, the Snagdim tried, they this and this, and it turned around against them. They shouldn't chas v'shalom. Why? Because there was a justified reason why Chassidim will do that and feel that way. They're justified to, but it's a bad impulse. It's not good. It's not good. So what's the eitzah? That a person should be levil to rum lavave. V'yishval ruach mifnei kol adam. Sheyil is a kor beinei of shechot neged Hashem. In a minute we're going to say adarab. Adarab is going to help him be more misimcha. But first understand this. When a person, the Gemara says that David the Melech was a good Melech. Why? Because he had a kuppah shel shratza. Shaul was a bad Melech. Why? He didn't have a kuppah shel shratza. Shaul was an impeccable tzaddik. He can never say anything bad. He did nothing wrong. His kummah from Hashena Yichus, Yeshiva Shemishpoche, alle mechatonim zijn Hashena mechatonim. Het gelernt in Koilo for the Isaac Yor. Everything is beautiful. You can't say he was a bad leader for that reason. David the Melech, a few things that he did that was not so he needed to tshuva. So that made him a good leader. So the same thing here. A person is going to do tshuva, and the Eibush is takem moichel, the emes moichel. But when a person, the neged, remembers that there was things that he should be ashamed of, so then he'll be shval ruach. It'll help him be shval ruach. And in a moment, the Alter Rebbe is going to say adarab. It'll also help him be mesimcha. How's it going to help him be mesimcha? Because a person sometimes goes through a difficult period in life. So there's two attitudes a person can have. One attitude is accompanishment. Why do I have to go through such a difficulty? It's accomplished. And the person's upset. And it's very hard to deal with it. I can't deal with it. I can't deal with it. Allah, everyone's coming to shul and Al Git and Mamir is good. I can't deal with it. And it's I'm getting short.
It's a merus.
Yeah. Hashem can a person which is Chatosi Negdi Tami, it's not close to him. But he remembers. Fakir Al Tebe says that he realizes that the Take, we said that the Eibishter forgives as soon as the Yid does tshuva, the Eibishter forgives them. But to mamish expunge all the pagam, the Eibishter, it has sometimes rachmonas in the Yid, as Hashem Yachiach. And the Eibishter gives him Yisurim, and that Yisurim is the Gemara Kapora. So a person is going to be besimcha. Because he realizes that these Yisurim are very good for him. Like the story we mentioned before from Acher, that when he came to heaven, they said, what should we do with him? So the mayor said, stop draining a cup. Put him in Gehenna. The Mezrach Shemala said, no, we can't. He's a big person. He said, stop. Just mutav de ladaine vil osid laiba de osid. You're draining a cup. You're saying you're not going to give him Yisurim. What's going to happen? He's never going to end up in Gan Eden. So you're not really helping him. You're doing him a disservice. So Rebbe Meir said, when I'm going to be Oila Lamaila, you're going to see smoke is going to come out of his cave. Because I'm going to make sure I'm going to storm the heavens that they should let him go into Gehenna. So this is a similar thing. A person who's Chatos and Egni Tomit, so then he's dealing with a difficult thing. He's Besimcha because he says, this is the Gemara Kapora. The Eibush already forgave me. What are you? Because Yisurim comes only later. That's the Gemara Kapora. It's not Tfilas Kapora. So a person is happy. He's, Baruch Hashem, I'm getting rid of, the Eibush is cleansing me, the Eibush is cleaning me. It's a fakir. It helps him be Besimcha. So there's two nekudas here. Number one, when a person does tshuva, he becomes be'emes a better person and l'choyre he can start looking down at other people. So when we chatosi negdi tamid, negdi means meirochik. So then he labilte rum lavav me'echa. And a second nekuda is it'll help him even be besimcha lekabuli besimcha. So now, before we read inside, the Rebbe has a moedic thing. The Rebbe says in the base of the Rebbe, there was a question someone asked an Alter Rebbe. Before that question, the Rebbe has a poshta question. The Alter Rebbe wants to bring a raya, the chatosi negdi tomid, means not close to me, but far. Rebbe says it should be besimcha. And not that he's constantly thinking, oh, I did such ugly sins. Chatosi negdi samid. Neged means meirochik, a mile away. Yeah? So why does the Alter Rebbe bring a raya? First from Pasuk in Shmuel, Perek, Yud Beis, and then from a Pasuk in Torah, Savev Elohel Moed Machinam. Does it make sense? First you should bring a Pasuk from Torah, and then, and B'chlal, why do you need to bring two Psukim? And B'chlal, why does he have to bring a Pasuk with a Rashi? He could say there's a story with Yishmael, that she sat me neged, harchik, kimetach ve'koshes. So we see neged means far away. And there's another pasuk, meneged tiretz haaretz v'shama lo tavei. So we know meneged means far away. Go onto the mountain, you see, take a binocular, see far, v'shama lo tavei. Why is the Alter Rebbe first bring up as a funny pasuk, a pasuk from Shmuel, the siyatzav meneged, v'atat the siyatzav meneged, and then he said bring a Rashi. So the Rebbe says, this is brilliant. This is a typical Rebbe Sicha from the Rebbe in Tanya. The Rebbe's Biyurim on Tanya is Neufes Zufim, is Dvash. Especially in Iggeres HaTeshuvahendChapter. The Rebbe says like this. What's the first raya? The first raya is the strongest raya for what the Alter Rebbe is saying. Because the Alter Rebbe wants to say, Mineged, in the one hand means far, but on the other hand, it's not buried. It's just like over here, he says, your chatam shouldn't be like this. That b'meila you'll be b'meridus, but it should be over there. It should be far. And on the one hand, it'll help you be a shval ruach, and it'll also even help you be b'simcha. But it should be over there, far away. So in other words, it should be far, but it should still help you. He brings a story from Tanakh, which is bidiyuk what he wants to bring out. What's the story in Tanakh? That Avshalom went against David HaMelech. But Avshalom,
son.
Right? And David HaMelech said that no one should kill my son. I want him caught, and they should bring him to me alive. Avshalom had a big ear, and he was riding on his pony, and he got the Tachas Ha'ela, and the big ear got stuck, and he was hanging Bein HaShamayim Va'oretz, and his pony ran away. And he was hanging. Someone came and told Yoav that Avshalom is hanging from a tree in his ear. So Yoav says, did you kill him? He said, no, I didn't kill him. Why didn't you kill him? So he answers. He says 3 points. He says, number one, David HaMelech said not to kill him. And then he says, and if you're going to tell me, Kilu, who's going to know? He says, David will find out everything. And then he says one more point. And these are these 3 words. V'ata t'siyatzev mineged, which the Meforshim say means, he said, the cowboy, with the big hat, the cowboy. You're telling me, you're telling me why I wasn't a Chevraman, why I wasn't there to kill Avshalom. He said, what's going to happen? David HaMelech said not to kill him. He says, you want I should kill him, right? What's going to happen when David HaMelech finds out and he's going to judge me? V'ata t'siyatzev negdi. You're not going to defend me. You're not going to defend me. You're going to stand there in David HaMelech's court and, Mom, you're not going to come defend me. So you're going to stand there and the shveigen, the smachen the shveigen. So therefore, I didn't kill him. And then Yoav and Nishna spoke about him. He went himself, and he got a couple of guys, and they killed him, and they stoned him, and
you know what
Avshalom
said about him.
Right?
David
was upset.
Halavai I get killed and not you.
Right.
Even though he was rebelling
right
against him.
Right. So what we see from here is V'ata Tisyatzav Mineged is exactly what the Alter Rebbe is saying. When she sat and she said, Val Area, she means she wants to go far. She doesn't want to come close. Mineged Tira, V'shama Loi Tovei, V'shama Loi Tovei. He's saying, you're asking me a question. Why I didn't kill? If I would kill him and they brought me in front of David, you're going to sit quiet. Therefore, right now, I'm a little smarter than you. You're telling me I should go kill him? My IQ is a drop higher than yours. You're telling me, be a cowboy. You're going to stand there quietly. And I could see it in my eyes that you're standing there quietly while they're accusing me, and you're not going to defend me. That's why I'm not going to kill Avshalom.
And how this proves
So it's the same thing over here. Mineged means that it's a poilt of a mention. On the one hand, Mineged means far, but it also means
because of that.
Because of this, exactly.
I'm not going to do another.
Exactly. He says, this had an effect on him. He said, you're asking me why I'm not killing Avshalom? I'm telling you why I'm not killing him. Because I could see in my eyes being accused and standing in front of the king, and you're standing there quiet, your mom. So Mineged means, on the one hand, Mineged means you're far, you're not helping me. But that poil on me now, that I should not try to be a cowboy and kill Avshalom, because I could see already what's happening. Same thing over here. Chatosi negdi tamid means, on the one hand, it's negdi, it's far. On the other hand, it has a pu'ul on me. It affects me.
And the second one,
what is the second one? Why does the Alter Rebbe have to bring? So you bring a slam dunk raya, it's not good. Someone asked the Alter Rebbe, the Beis Rebbe says, that someone asked that a lot of times in the Torah, negdi means very close. Why? We see it says, Vayichen Shom Yisrael neged or. So he wanted to say that mi neged and neged. Mi neged means far. Neged or means close. And over here it says v'chatosi negdi. Neged, not mi neged. He wanted to say there's a difference of mi neged and neged. Rebbe says that's why the Alter Rebbe says there's a posuk mi neged sav lo yel yachnu upirish Rashi mei rochek. Ibn Ezra also says a pshat. He says rochek. Rashi says mei rochek. Rashi, when he says mei rochek, you understand that what does it mean? Mi neged mei rochek. Mei rochek, if you say in Yiddish, von der weitens. Mi neged, the word mem is not connected to the word. From afar. Mei rochek, mi neged, mei rochek.
But me, when she stood, put Moshe Rabbeinu in the Torah in the Yom Sov.
What's the lashon there?
Talmud Meropa.
Yeah, but it says, yeah.
But
it's
השם ברא את האישה, עזר כנגדו. It's awesome, you know?
It's very, very close or very, very far.
So the Rebbe says, good
It's good.
Good point.
Very, very close, very,
But
very
the Rebbe says that the emes is that the answer is as well, that negdi, neged, kinneged, min neged, it's the same thing. It's all the same shoyrish, it's the same. It could mean far and it could mean close. How do you know? To look at the context. You look at the context. What's the context of the pasuk? That's what the Alter Rebbe says. Mashkosa b'chatosi.
Ba'olam v'chov, Rashi says, either she's
Ezer kenegdo.
Kenegdo.
Either Ezer or it's
Or
kenegdo. Exactly. But the word mineged or neged or negdi or neged, it's all the same thing. It could mean sometimes very close, it could mean very far. And you have to know from the context of the pasuk what it means. Now, this pasuk,
By Tshuva, one says,
why? Because the pasuk says afterward, Tashmieni sasam v'simcha. Alter Rebbe says, if chatosi negdi over here means 1 inch in front of my eyes, and I realize how ugly my sins are, and I'm constantly focusing on it, how is it going to be Tashmieni sasam v'simcha? Elamai, the pshat is, no, mineged means far. Elamai, why is the pasuk emphasizing chatosi negdi? To say that it helps a person at two nekudas, and number one, it helps him not to be a shvaruch, and number two, it helps him lakabuli b'semcha. And then it says, that the two rayas are connected to two things. The Alter Rebbe is saying that there's two milas. Not chas v'shom that a person should always remember the ugliness of his sins. It should be further away, and there's two milas in it. One mila is sur meira, and the other one is asay tov, chiv and shlila. One is a libilti rum levavim el echel, which is sur meira. He shouldn't become a big guy v'dik. And the other thing is chiyuv, that he should be besimcha. He should be besimcha from everything.
You know what it says about a woman? Matzah isha, matzah tov. Lo matzah, od yoter tov.
So 1 second, you didn't answer why the Lashon negative, which seems to be korod and not rochod.
That's what the Rebbe is saying. That neged, kineged,
It
could
neged means far and neged means close.
No, he's saying no. That neged, min neged, kin neged, it's the same thing. Elamai, when does it mean close and when does it mean far? You have to see the context of the pasuk. Nadav lane in the pasuk, part of them in the pasuk, not of them, and then you'll know what it means.
To me, it's like a person go to a chasana, he's from a chasana to dance, right? Can you imagine if you go with dirty clothes in this? Can't dance, can be happy. Put yourself nice clothes, then you can dance. This is where the tshuva, you can't come with it. Put it far away.
I put it far
Now
away.
you can dance.
Elamai, the Alter says there's a mile when a person remembers. It's for itself.
The back of the head.
The back of the head.
Why if somebody tried to make tshuva, but he said, you're going back and misapkin be'ado? The Torah always has to be misapkin. The guy wanted to, even though he played.
Yeah, we spoke about before. Kategis, aneger. Listen, the Torah has rules. Zlinyan asimcha. When it comes to a person being besimcha, you're remembering that he had a chait is going to help him be besimcha. To help him accept with simcha anything that's coming on him. The Alter Rebbe says, by the way, this is also eitza toiva linotzel menakas and linotzel menakpeda, because a person that remembers that they have a lot of bad chatoim, they're not so much bekas, because whatever they have other things in their mind. They're also not so much makpid than others. That there's the Rebbe points out, and then he brings another. The Rebbe points out that the Rebbe is bringing two Mamori Chazal to bring out his point. The first one he says v'chulu. The Alter Rebbe could have just quoted another because that's not negay over here. The Eibishter rewards tzaddikim for accepting Yisurim. He just wants to bring out that there is such a thing in the lovim ve'ein va'olvim, shemei charposim ve'ein meshivim. So we see that this is all a chelik in one person. That these are people that are smechem b'yisurim, that in the lovim ve'ein va'olvim, that shemei charposim ve'ein meshivim. There's a certain avodah, which is that because they're smechem b'yisurim, they have a different outlook in life. If they have a difficult point in life, it's a nechken shter to the simcha. It doesn't disturb the simcha sachayim, because the opposite.
All this is
and therefore the Alter Rebbe brings the other Maimon Chazal takmavino la kol pshov that has to do with what we're learning in Tanya, which is
you have to do mavil medesa.
And then takmavino la.
Don't be this. Then is the.
So this finishes off. And next week we'll go into the Tama Simcha Yisura Aguf. The Alter Rebbe will add a little bit to this nakuda, but this finishes off the final nakuda in Tanya in Iggeres HaTeshuva, that there's no contradiction between the inyan of Vayid being the Simcha in the one hand, and the other hand that a person is chatosi negdi tomid. Because not only is it not a contradiction, faket, it helps them be besimcha. And that's the last nakuda, which is to understand the inyan of Iggeres HaTeshuva, understand how to do tshuva. Okay, Metz Hashem, next week, the Perek Yud Beis, and then we'll be Messiah Iggeres HaTeshuva.
I said if somebody embarrass someone, sir, you can go to him and get caught.
Yeah.
Because when they take a baby to give him a bath, small baby, right?
Yeah.
The minute you start putting him in the bath with this,
That's right. Yeah, I'll finish.
You know?
Yeah, and I'll
Then
tell
you
this.
get used to it and you see that the baby is so happy and this. You think about it, well, that brought to me now, you know. Whatever it is, it's putting you in the bath not to wash me.
Right.
So that itself should bring me to a simcha, not
Right.
taking
No.
Right. That's
how are you?